I hope you are as pumped up as I am. A lot to talk about, more revelations with Trump and Epstein, a lot of economic news about the tsunami. Let's jump right in. Good morning. I hope your coffee's as good as mine. Hell, I hope it's better. I really do. Need good coffee to get us through these days. Let's start off the show with a bit of good news. There is some good news to talk about, and I tell you, I went to sleep last night really dreading this. If you don't know much about tsunamis and how they work, um, what there was a lot of risk yesterday. There really was, but thank God so far things have not turned out to be as devastating as everyone was really afraid they could be. We so far have dodged a bullet here. The evacuation orders have been lifted in Hawaii. The waves were not nearly as severe there as they could have been. If you don't know what's going on, there was a massive earthquake. Let's go to the map. There was a massive earthquake, and it was here in Yuzhno-Sakhalinsk, Russia. To give you some idea where that is, it was just offshore here. It was an 8.8 magnitude earthquake. That's a big one, folks. I mean, that is a big. The scale only goes to 10. There's never been one bigger than 9.5, I believe, maybe a 9.6. But yeah, it was right off the coast here of Yuzhno-Sakhalinsk. To give you some idea where that is, it's just south of the Kamchatka Peninsula here, just north of Japan. What had everybody really worried is despite the fact that any tsunami set off by the movement of the seafloor where this earthquake took place, despite you've got the Kuril Islands here acting somewhat as a barrier, that really won't slow a tsunami down. It will squeeze right through these islands, and it will race across in less than 12 hours. It will race across the Pacific Ocean. People, they were really worried about Midway. They were really worried about Hawaii. Fortunately, the way things have hit, not they, other than the Kuril Islands here, which took a pretty good beating. The levels of sea rise have not been that great. What's got people still a little worried is that it's not going to lose energy as it crosses the Pacific. It is not. These waves will just continue on. What has people concerned about is what makes it, if you don't know about a tsunami, the science of it's pretty easy to understand. A tsunami, the seafloor moves, sending waves across, just like you've seen waves on an oscilloscope, or waves, sound waves. They literally are very long, broad waves. The tsunami is not very tight waves. It's very long and broad, and it travels across the ocean. Doesn't lose energy. It doesn't, and it travels faster than your average passenger jet flies. Where it gets really dangerous is, you see this light blue area here off the coast where the water starts to get shallower. When it leaves the deep water and hits, it's really easy to imagine. This isn't hard science. The tsunami does what they call shoaling. It hits the shoals. It hits the shallow water. What happens to that wave, or it's actually waves, is they get smashed, compressed. And as you can imagine with a sound wave, if you compress it, the wave grows. The wave grows. And the succession of them, when they start to shoal, they slow down. So you get one right after the other, after the other, after the other, and it pushes the water onto the shore. Not hard, right? They're very, very, very pleased at what they saw in Hawaii and Marshall Islands. Very minimal, but that may have to do with, if you take a look at the actual topography of the ocean floor here. Gotta love Google for this. How and where it hit. Believe it or not, actually, on the backside of an island, the waves can actually be worse. It's the way the waves. Anyways, that's getting too deep into the weeds. Anyways, they're still concerned for Central and South America. Um, that tsunami is still traveling. It should be contacting the shores across Central and South America pretty much well as we speak. But yeah, for the most part, so far, good news. We've dodged a bullet. We have dodged a bullet. There was some slight good, on another note, there was some slight good news on the economic front, but it was kind of bullshit. It really was. Before we do that, because that's going to be fairly in depth, let's talk about the latest Epstein revelation. I was going to hold that till more people filtered into the audience. Go ahead and hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button. For you folks watching this on replay, open up that panel right there, that button down there that says panel. You'll be able to see the live chat and what people are talking about. Be part of the actual conversation, see what people are thinking. But yeah, there's been new revelations on the Trump Epstein front. And I don't like to hear this some bitch talk. You don't like to hear this some bitch talk. But this one's important to come out of his own mouth. So this happened. I was having a conversation with a criminal investigator not too terribly long. And one of the things they said was, guilty people just talk. They do. They just talk. If you can keep them talking, they want to talk. If you can just keep them talking, eventually they'll just give it up. That's the whole, that's the crux of doing interviews, and why lawyers tell you don't talk to the police ever. Even if you're innocent, don't talk to the police. Just shut up. Call your lawyer. Shut up. Guilty people, especially guilty people, just love to talk. And this is Trump, in his own words, confessing that his beef with Epstein, and you remember he's been saying, "Oh, I don't hang with Epstein. We had a falling out," and then he said grossly, "I've never had the privilege of going to Epstein Island." Privilege? Really, dude? That's a really interesting choice of words, as is your statement that you were angry at Epstein for stealing Virginia Giuffre from you. It's really freaking gross, but hear it in his own words, so you don't have to take my interpretation of it. Spicy Jester, good to see you, man. Trump is now once again reconsidering a pardon for P. Diddy. He won't release the list of protecting Epstein clients, and he likely will pardon Maxwell. GOP stands for guardians of pedophiles. Amen, brother. Amen, they do. But this is Trump in his own words. He was at a press gaggle. And again, guilty people just like to talk. Before we play it, I got this from a scene. It's actually a White House audio, But instead of me having or you having to go to the White House, downloading the audio and this, that, and the other, follow Acine on your social media. He's on Blue Sky, he's on Threads, whatever your particular cup of tea is, Acine is there. This is what he does. You want to supercharge your social media, follow good people like Acine here. He goes and he gets these clips and he makes them available for you right there on your social media. I mean, just folks, in the coming times, it's important that you be informed and follow good people. So I'm not one of those people. There's a lot of people that do what I do for a living that are really, I don't know, jealous is the wrong word, but they will not elevate other people for fear of, that's not me. I want you to have the best information out there all the time. We'll get together and talk about it. But yeah, give Acine a follow. He and Aaron Rupert just do amazing work. But here's the audio for you.
Mr. President, Epstein has a certain reputation, obviously. I'm just curious, were some of the workers that were taken from you, were some of them young women?
Were some of them
young women?
Well, I don't want to say, but everyone knows the people that were taken. And it was the concept of taking people that work for me is bad. But that story's been pretty well out there. And the answer is yes, they were.
Yes, they were young women. What did they do?
Now, I'm going to pause this for a second because that's pretty damn important. The answer is yes. We're going to talk about that story here in a minute. Let me back this up. That's just 30 seconds of audio. Let me back it up a few seconds so you can hear it. One more time. Listen, the answer unequivocally, yes.
Were some of them
young women?
Well, I don't want to say, but everyone knows the people that were taken. And it was the concept of taking people that work for me is bad. But that story's been pretty well out there. And the answer is yes, they were.
Yes, they were young women. What did they do?
In the spa.
In the spa?
Yeah, people that work in the spa. I have a great spa, one of the best spas in the world at Mar-a-lago. And people were taken out of the spa, hired by him. In other words, gone. And other people would come and complain.
Okay. There's a little bit more to it, but this is gross. This is really gross. He admits it's Virginia Giuffre. He says it. He tries to tap dance around it and say, oh, well, people know who it is. The stories have been out there. And then confirms, yeah, those stories are true. Those stories are true. Jeremy Breeden, thank you for always being here, brother. He's guilty as hell. An innocent person with crimes like these levied against them would do everything they could to cooperate. Yeah. His lawyers would be putting information out there to the public as fast as humanly possible if he was innocent of all this. Joseph Galati, thank you for being here, man. European audience in the house. Joseph, where are you hailing from, brother? Post it up there in the chat. But look, this is what he's talking about. This is why this is so freaking gross. I mean, just gross. This is the young woman he's talking about. It's Virginia Giuffre. She is the person that accused Prince Andrew of sexually assaulting her 3 times. 3 times. And he did it at Ghislaine Maxwell's home in London. That is a 16-year-old Virginia Giuffre. And all of this is so freaking awful. But I want you to go back to that recording. She was working in the spa at Mar-a-Lago, giving those old, fat, gross fuckers massages at 16 years old. Look, I'm not a big massage guy. I'm not. you know, I'll be honest with you. I just don't like people touching me, to be honest with you. But a 16-year-old girl, really? First of all, what 16-year-old girl is a professional masseuse? You ain't there for the massage, man. You're just not. That's just fucking gross. Who hires 16-year-old girls to work? Well, Trump does. Trump does, by his own admission. Trump hires 16-year-old girls to work in his spa at his fucking gross ass Florida resort. So his fat, but have you seen the pictures of the people that are there? They're fucking nasty. The men are old and gross. The women are, you've seen that. They call it Mar-a-lago face now. These women that have so much lip filler, they look like, I don't know, what's that fish that sucks onto the side of the fish tank? You know what I'm talking about? Hey, Boyd, thank you for being here. Huge support. Thank you, brother. I really appreciate you. Thank you for fighting the good fight. I hope that to meet you and shake your hand someday. That may happen, brother. That may happen. Thank you for the tremendous support. Randy Oliver, thank you for always being here, my friend. A 16-year-old and a massage parlor. Exactly. That is so freaking, and he tells you right there from his own mouth that this 16-year-old girl that Prince Andrew settled with over these accusations, he paid her. He settled this out of court. This is just nasty. And at every turn. And I don't mean that to be demeaning to the victims. I don't. She was a 16-year-old kid. But that's our president of the, that had the president, that audio had the presidential seal on it. It came from an international press gaggle. That went out to the whole world. Kathy Young, thank you for being here. Even if Trump didn't get the privilege to go to the island, not everything happened on the island. No shit. Virginia Giuffre said it was Ghislaine Maxwell in her London home. You know, I mean, just freaking that. And I just want to remind you, Virginia Giuffre is no longer with us. She's not. She committed suicide back in April of this year. Look, I don't mean to be this guy. I don't. There are people that like to push things on social media, and I just kind of ignore it, you know, but because nobody wants to be the guy that walks around and tells everybody, hey, stop saying this because you know it's wrong, and you're kind of tamping down your own side, and they started this whole conspiracy thing that she put out on social media back, you know, over 5 years ago, that when all of this was happening with Prince Andrew, that she was not going to, there were people that wanted to silence her and she was not suicidal. Folks, she wrote a note in her own hand. So let's not drag her family through this. Okay. When 5 years later, somebody's mental state. In 2019, she put posts out on social media that said, I'm not suicidal. There are people that want me to silence me. I'm telling my doctors, everybody, that I'm not suicidal. That was over 5 years ago. When she committed suicide in April, she wrote a note in her own hand. I mean, it was her own handwriting. Okay. So let's not drag her family through that. That conspiracy theory is just, it's a tragedy enough is all I'm saying. But let me move on from that. Yeah, Ghislaine Maxwell is a fucking monster. Jeffrey Epstein may be dead, but Ghislaine Maxwell is not. This is another one of the victims. talking about Ghislaine Maxwell. This is Sarah Ransom. She was not a child when she was recruited. She was 22 when she was recruited, but still, she says that she was sexually assaulted. But yeah, let me play what she has to say, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Again, another great follow that I'd like you to follow on, whatever your social media of choice is the Tennessee Holler. He does a lot of Tennessee focused news, but does do international stories like this, and is a good, reliable source. But yeah, this is Sarah Ransom talking about Ghislaine Maxwell.
She participated. She tortured me and others. And she's worse than Jeffrey. She broke the sisterhood. She broke that bond. She was supposed to be a protector and nurturer. And she failed us. And she'll have to live with that for the rest of her life. She participated. She tortured me and
yeah, she sued Epstein and Maxwell back in, I think it was 2018. And again, they settled out of court. She has a book entitled Silence No More, where she talks about all of her allegations. If they're able to force the DOJ, somehow destroy all the evidence and make us go through investigations once we take Congress back in the midterms, to make people actually testify to what the evidence was if they destroy it and things like that. Folks, you can always just go back and just believe the women. There are people on social media that they ask, and I get this on all of my social media platforms, why aren't the women speaking up? They are. You just haven't heard what they have to say. And again, they're writing books. The press isn't platforming them. You've probably never heard of Sarah Ransom before, but yeah, she has a book out called Silence No More, where she tells exactly what happened. So yeah, I mean, if the easiest way, do you want the Epstein list? Just believe the women. That's all you got to do. Just believe the women. They're telling us. Marcia Klepper, does anyone other than me question what kind of parents allow their children to go to these places? No shit. No shit. Well said. Very well said. Amy Manuel, thank you for being here. Valley of the Dolls. People are so spot on. Kate Mary, can't believe the MAGA base would tolerate Trump giving Maxwell a pardon for all they turn a blind eye to. Yeah, here's my take on it. I hear this a lot. I hear this sentiment a lot that, his base is going to be pissed and sending. Let me tell you what I hear, because I am in the middle of all this right-wing shit down here in Texas. They want this gone. They do. They don't want to talk about this anymore. And they are waiting for whatever good story MAGA can cook up that allows them to say, aha, yeah, okay, yeah, that's that. Yeah, oh, yeah. That's why Trump was doing the whole, it's a hoax thing. It's not real. It was ginned up. And that's why Hal Sparks nailed it. Let me pull up what Hal Sparks said. He just nailed it. And I don't want to paraphrase it. I want to get it right. But yeah, Hal Sparks freaking nailed this the other day. Oh, let me see if I've still got it up there. Do I still have it up there? I do not. Shit, I'm going to have to paraphrase it. But yeah, Hal was making fun of this whole notion, this whole thing because he sees it too. If you're a sparkler, you've probably heard him talk about this. The right wing is trying desperately to twist itself into pretzel knots as to what to do about this, what to say about this, what is what is our out? How do I make this okay so I can still hate Democrats, still be my bigot self, still get told I'm a good person, not just a good person, I'm a better person. Let me see if I can find it on House. He did a really good job of summing this up. But yeah, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for whatever the story is that lets them be okay with this somehow, that lets it be a hoax. You know, Trump is on one hand saying it's all fake and it's all, made up shit. Comey and Biden and the Democrats, they all made it up. But oh, Hal has so many posts. I'm having a hard time finding it. God dog it. If I can find it later, I'll look it up. I don't want to hold the show up. But basically, let me paraphrase it. And what he said was this, and it was spot on. So, okay, what you're telling me is that the Democrats made it all up. They doctored it all up, but then didn't use it in the election, didn't clear themselves, and didn't it's fake, but it's real, but it's fake. And yeah, the right wingers they're really looking, they want to keep hearing they're the good people, they're the religious people, they're the people of God. They're the people, they're better than everybody. They want to keep hearing that. And they're just really desperately looking for it. In tune, we stick together. Yeah. I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you. Michael Viditus says the problem is Trump keeps changing the problem. Yeah, he can't shut up. He can't shut up. Oh, it's all a fake. It's all made up. But yeah, I didn't hang out with Jeffrey Epstein because I was mad at him because he recruited my 16-year-old masseuse from me from Mar-a-Lago. But that's why I was mad at him, because he stole Virginia from me. Yeah. Just keep digging, man. Just keep digging. This is never going away. Meanwhile, you've got the corporate media out there that are just, they are looking. We had one tiny bit of good news. One tiny bit of good news. GDP grew last month. The economy took off. The GDP grew. Grew at 3%. Normal circumstances, with everything being normal, that would be great news. Spot on. Perfect. 3% is a great number to hit. It's not so much growth that you're worried about an overheated economy. It's not, it's just a good, healthy number if everything was normal, but it's not. It was a rebound. Remember, it contracted the month before by 0.5%. The economy shrank. Not only, the economy must grow. We must add 220,000 jobs a month just to keep up with population growth, just to break even. The economy contracted the month before. Then what happened? Trump tacoed out. He backed off on his, remember? Oh, we're going to suspend the tariffs. They panicked. We're going to suspend the tariffs. They were already supposed to have the 90 trade deals in 90 days done. Didn't happen. Oh, we're going to suspend the tariffs until August. And the economy went, whew. It's not normal, healthy growth, people. It's a rebound. JH, the workers' story is a small part of it. The fallout was over the mansion in Palm Beach. Trump paid $40 million and sold to a Russian oligarch for $90 million, laundering money. His jet was in many of the stops. This, that, and the other. Now, Trump is actually, when Trump was asked about it, all he could pull out of his addled mind was Virginia Giuffre. Yeah. with his addled mind, that is the one that came to the forefront, which tells you what kind of person Trump is. And yes, you are spot on about the sale of that mansion in Palm Beach. You are spot on about that, but that is not what Trump, who has cognitive decline, what is on the forefront of his mind of what his problem was with Jeffrey Epstein. When asked about it, Virginia Giuffre is what he came up with. Look, if you want to actually know what's going on with the economy, we're going to do a thing. We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about, and we're going to put points out there here, 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 and here. And then we're going to pull it all together. So stick with me. To understand it, you've got to know about Erath, Louisiana. What's important about Erath, Louisiana? Not much to most people. This is Erath. Go to the map. This is Erath. Little bitty town. But it is hugely important in your life. And I don't mean just because it's right by Avery Island where you get your Tabasco sauce. Yeah, this is where Tabasco is made. Avery Island right here. Now, Erath is important for another reason. And this is it. This is natural gas prices. This is natural gas prices and what they've done over the last 6 months since Trump took office. They've climbed almost 20%. That is a huge, huge problem for the economy. That kind of growth is a huge problem for the economy. And you see that it's been erratic, but consistent, and yet also consistent in growth. A 20% increase in price in natural gas. What does that have to do with Erath? Well, oh wait, let me pull that back up for a second. What does that have to do with Erath? You see this market summary, the title of it, and you see NYMEX. NYMEX is the commodities market. Natural gas, in parentheses, Henry Hub, last day financial. Henry Hub is a hub, a natural gas hub, that is in Erath, Louisiana. All of the countries, actually, it's a global market. The world's natural gas prices get set in Erath, Louisiana. Yeah. Whatever the price is set there, it is nationwide. And since it's nationwide here and it's a global commodity, it becomes a global price. It's called the Henry Hub. The Henry Hub is a conflux of pipelines. There are 9 intrastate pipelines that come together right there, get at natural gas pipelines, and 4 of our largest interstate gas pipelines come there, metered. The prices are set there, and that is what sets your natural gas prices. Little town of Erath. Who knew, right? Who knew? Yeah, I mean, you got the Transcontinental, you've got the Acadia pipeline, some of the biggest gas pipelines in the country. They hub together right there in the Henry Hub, and that's where your prices get set. Just Joan, your old bond trader here, it would crack me up if Jerome Powell raised interest rates to cool the economy. Oh, and I need the story on the dog picture. You know, that is a great point. I was going to talk about that, but let's jump right to that, Just Joan. You're making an outstanding point. Trump is begging Powell to slash interest rates. But we had 3% GDP growth when Trump tacoed out from the pipeline, or part from the tariffs. What would that look like if Jerome Powell slashed interest rates? We would be in hyperinflation immediately. Jerome Powell knows what he's doing. I would love some lower interest rates. Wouldn't you love some cheap money? Wouldn't you love those credit card rates to come down? Wouldn't you want, if you want to go buy a car to pay 1% or 0% instead of, 4 or 5%, 6%, depending on where you're getting your loan from? Of course, everybody would love that. But Jerome Powell knows what the hell he's doing. He knows what the hell he's doing. You know, that 3% spike in growth shows you just how volatile this situation is. And the reason I'm talking to you about natural gas prices is this. We've had a 20% increase in natural gas prices. What does that mean to you? Well, it means this. Energy prices will mirror natural gas prices. This is what's happening to your energy prices. You see this straight up spike right here? That's a bad thing. That is a bad thing. Energy prices are soaring right now. Energy prices are directly tied. Your electricity bill is going up, not just because of greater demand because it's summer and it's hot. No, the cost of generation is spiking because of the natural gas prices spiking. This is it can be an incredibly complex economic discussion. Doesn't have to be, though. It doesn't have to be. We're going to hit the Cliffs Notes of it, and it's really easy to understand. This is, you have to understand, where do we get our natural gas from? About half of it, a little less than half of it, we get from oil wells. They capture it off of oil wells. You're pumping crude out of the ground, and you take about half, a little less than half of our natural gas production comes straight out of oil wells. The other comes out of just straight up gas wells. What's been going on with oil wells and oil production? Well, it's plummeting. It's plummeting for a number of reasons. Again, this is a very complex conversation. But it doesn't have to be, and we're not going to make it that way. We're just going to talk about, hit the high points of it. Why is rig count falling? Because everyone is seeing what's going on with the economy. They're seeing demand for oil plummet. If there's no demand, you stop pumping. You stop drilling. If you stop pumping and drilling, what happens to the natural gas that's coming out with the oil? It stops coming too. It's not just oil and what you're paying at the pump. It also affects your electric bill. Everybody's electric bill. Everybody's electric bill is going up because not only are they not drilling, as you see here, rig count is dropping. They're turning the wells off. Then you also have to look at this chart. We have been bragging about the fact that the United States is the largest oil producer in the world. Under Biden, they punched more holes in the ground and we're pumping more oil than ever before. I mean, just largest producers in the world. Here's the thing, though, about oil wells, and this is why I say it's complex. It really is. It's way more than what I'm saying here, but these are the high points that explain it. Now, you notice, I mean, for the last 6 to 10 years, we have been going crazy with production. Here's the problem. You will never get more production out of a well than you will when it's new. It drops off precipitously. A 2-year-old well produces a fraction of what a 2-month-old well produces. Even if you rehab the well, even if you acid wash it, even if you frack it, even if it will never produce more than when it's new. And those wells are not new anymore. Production is dropping. We're not drilling new wells. So not only are we shuttering wells, the wells that we have are getting older. So they're producing less. Do you understand? We're going to see a continued decline in natural gas and oil production. In order to keep that growing, we would have to be drilling like crazy. But nobody's going to do that because, capitalism, man. They're looking at the economy and they're saying, no, the need for the oil's not going to be there. So they're not drilling. And they're shuttering wells. Everybody that's been in oil country has driven by and seen a pump jack out there that's sitting dead still, not moving, not pumping shit. That is all over the place right now. So you follow me? Natural gas, we get a little less than half of it from our oil wells. Less oil wells, less production, especially over aging wells, means less natural gas. Not hard, right? I know it's an incredibly complex subject, and the technical experts and the people in the field, because we have people that deal in futures. We have people in our audience. We have people in the energy industry. We have very smart people here. Yeah, this is a Cliff's Notes version of it. It's very complex, but yeah, this is factual. This is just what's going on. And other than your electric bill, what does that mean? Well, it's going to be sustained. It's going to be sustained. It's going to be over the long haul, because not only is your electric bill going up because natural gas is getting more expensive, it's also an infrastructure issue. And baby, we're not investing in infrastructure. BB Ariolo, and good to see you. Newest listener, keep on talking. You do your work. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you for supporting the show. I can't do it without you. You keep the lights on. Thank you for being here. You new folks really encourage me. So in this situation, this is what you get. You get a 20% spike in natural gas prices in 6 months. 20%. That's a lot, folks. I imagine anything you buy in your life, groceries, your electric bill, your gas at the pump, your rent, anything spiking 20%. Well, that's what's just happened. And it's going to continue to rise. And what does that mean for you? Well, long term, your electric bills, not just yours. You need to think. A lot of people don't know this. If you've got a plain, there's no reason you would know this. If you've got just a plain old job, you go to work at a factory, or you go to work for a company, or you go to work for, you wouldn't know this. If you've never owned your own company or owned your own manufacturing facilities, commercial rates for electricity are massively higher than your rates at home. It just is. Whereas you pay, a bad bill for you might be in the $500 range. A normal bill for a business, that's cooling off a working space for its employees can be $5,000. Commercial rates are much higher. So you're seeing those electric rates going up. So everything that gets manufactured, every warehouse, everything that is involved with electricity is getting more expensive, not just for you. You're seeing it in your bill, so you know it's happening, but it's also on the production end is getting more expensive, and everything is computerized. Everything. Demand for electricity is expected to go through the roof over the next 10 years. La Sulfide, good to see you. I appreciate you. Thank you for being here, part of our international audience. Thank you for the support, sir or ma'am. Thank you for being here. But yeah, this is what we're talking about with demand. This is from the ICF. This is what's been happening and what is anticipated to happen. It's not just AI. It is a movement to an intensifying of the digital age. Now, remember, we're putting those points out there and we got to keep connecting those dots. Oil production plummets, natural gas production plummets, natural gas prices go up. The cost of generating electricity goes up, not just for natural gas, but also the infrastructure issues involved. So electricity is getting more expensive already now. And that is before this happens. Look at this. Look at this spike right here. They're expecting, you're talking a 25% increase in electric demand over the next couple years. They're looking at a 70 to 75% increase by 2050. Some estimates as high as 78% increase in demand for electricity by 2050. And 2050 ain't that far away. It's just not. Not for our kids and our grandkids. Are you seeing this tsunami cooking? Are you seeing these dots connecting? Natural gas prices go up, electricity prices go up. We're not investing in the infrastructure, so generation and delivery is more expensive. Demand for electricity is going through the roof. There is no way. You are stuck on a one-lane highway, and there's an 18-wheeler loaded to max capacity, doing 90 miles an hour, headed directly at you, and it has no brakes. And you are tied to the ground. You cannot avoid this inflation that is coming. And that is just one aspect of it. Mr. Alapur, thinking another good follow on social media, by the way. If you're not following Philip, put in chat your link to Blue Sky and Threads. Rebound is temporary for Trump to satisfy his base. And again, that's a great point. I don't necessarily trust the numbers coming out of this administration anymore. I don't. Now, we know the demand is there. So what would you do if you were a normal, sane person? If you weren't Howard Butlick or Peter Navarro or one of the people that are running willy-nilly, loose and free because we have no president, because his brain is pudding, what would you be wanting to do looking at this information that is free and available to everyone? Believe me, if old Hillbilly Paul can find it, they've got this information. What would you want to be doing in this situation? You'd be wanting to increase generation capacity, electricity generation capacity, as much as humanly possible, right? Anywhere and everywhere you could get it, right? If you see that your natural gas, which is your mainline production for electricity, is not going to cut it, and you've got a massive increase in demand of electricity coming your way, what would you do? Silly Bebo, thank you for being here. Miss Brittany, the Texas electric grid will be effed. Don't get me started on ERCOT. Yeah. No investment in infrastructure. None whatsoever. Jane Walker, thank you for being here. Thank you for the major support. I appreciate it. I'm looking for your answers. What would you do? What would you folks? You're the president. This is coming your way. You see this happening. You can't avoid it. What do you do to mitigate it? Gene Phillips says windmills and solar are the way to go. It's renewable energy. Amen, right? You've seen them. You've seen the big windmills. Boy, here in Texas, at the bottom, Texas is, like I said, East Texas, Northeast Texas is forest. Central North Texas, that's the Great Plains. Get out into to west and northwest Texas, you're in the end of the desert from the New Mexico desert, and down south you're in the New Mexico desert. And on the east side you kind of got the Davis Mountain. It's a whole other place. But right there where the plains come down and hit Texas, man, I tell you, there are windmills as far as the eye can see, right? That's a good thing, right? You would keep doing that, wouldn't you? I mean, that's what you would do if you weren't a fucking moron. If you weren't a fucking moron, that's what you would do. But Buttlick is a moron. Trump has pudding for brains. And they just gutted all of the subsidies that were driving the building of those windmills and solar farms. They're gutting all of the subsidies that were making people become more efficient in their homes so they could reduce that demand as much as possible. In their big, ugly fucking bill, it is done. It is over. Cross-eyed guy, thank you for being here. How about we start talking about the abortion issue? Am I missing something? Has the issue been addressed? Should this not be talked about? Not so much since the election. It's out there, man. It is out there. There's so much to talk about with what they're doing wrong. There's so much out there. There really is. And thank you for supporting the show. I appreciate it. I appreciate the comment. Yeah, that's what they did. That's what they did. They gutted what is the future of energy production in this country. And all the programs to drive people to purchase more energy efficient appliances, to use less energy in their homes. Folks, when I built this house, I didn't put in a fireplace. I didn't. We had the conversation, and a couple times a year, we really enjoyed in our last house before we moved here. We enjoyed having a fireplace, but I didn't put one in. I didn't. To have a fireplace, you got to punch a hole in the roof. They're incredibly inefficient. They can drive down the efficiency of your home by 10% just by having a single fireplace. So I didn't do it. I spray foamed our house. My house is an upside down beer cooler. It is spray foamed from the slab to the peak of the roof. I put in when I built this place, I put in an efficient air conditioner. I did. My home, the electric bill off my home is less than the electric bill I pay for my wife's she shed. All that is over. All that is over. All of that efficiency, all of that, they gutted it in this big, ugly bill at a time when the electric bills are already spiking. Carl Rossi says, wind power is profitable. Trump lies to support coal and oil, grifting at every corner. Recyclable blades are around the corner. Yeah, it is profitable, but to get the investment in it that we've needed to grow the infrastructure, and that's it, man. Infrastructure investment. Those incentives were getting private industry to invest in infrastructure. Because we sure as hell can't get Republicans to do it. We can't. It's not going to happen. So connect the dots. Natural gas is getting more expensive. Oil production is dropping because the economy is tanking. Your electricity is getting more expensive. It will continue to get more expensive because demand is just skyrocketing. Amid skyrocketing demand, they cut other means of production, which means it's going to exacerbate the problem and make it worse, which is going to stifle the economy further, because if energy is a huge input in your production, it's cyclical, folks. If you make things more expensive to produce, you have to charge more to sell them, because nobody is in business to lose money. Everybody must make a profit. So these additional energy expenses will go into the costs of everything that you need to buy, which means you will be buying less of them. So the economy will continue to slow. But wait, there's more. This is also happening. Here's another dot coming in. You folks are smart enough to keep track of all of it. My good friend Tony Polkerbrick sent me an email last night talking about this. He went to purchase Polkerbrick Farms. He's a friend of mine. Added this dot to the show. This is from Tony. He went to buy fertilizer yesterday. Nope. Not happening. Why? Because this has happened since January. This is when Trump took office. Fertilizer prices have skyrocketed. Talking over a 30 to, in some cases, a 40% increase in fertilizer prices. Why? Where do you think they get the nitrogen for fertilizer from? Come on, you are smart folks. Where do you think they get the nitrogen for fertilizer from? And no, surprisingly, tariffs is just a small portion of this. There are folks that, good guess as to why those prices are spiking, but it's not it. Come on with what the show, you know this, folks, this is interactive. While y'all are coming up with that answer, I'm going to read this comment. Travel on, Trish. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. Trump was talking stupid about windmills to EU leader Ursula von der Leyen. When he was in Scotland, it was embarrassing. I know it was. USA is being left in the dust in green energy and innovation. Our European friends are so far ahead. Of us. Close. Ryan McLean's close here. Natural gas. Lion's share of nitrogen for our fertilizer it's a natural gas byproduct. Natural gas prices have spiked. So not only has the cost of production gone through the roof for fertilizer, but also one of the feedstocks that they get the nitrogen from for the fertilizer. Yep, petrochemicals. Judith McDonough. I know this is one of my favorites. It's just one of the simplest ones I've got, but it's one of my favorites. I love the chicken with the Trump hair on. I love this mug. I really do. Thank you. I appreciate you. So yeah, you've got a perfect tsunami going on in the fertilizer industry. Again, you've got tariffs, which is a small portion of it. Then you've got the loss of natural gas, which is driving up energy prices, thus the production cost. Plus, you've got the petrochemical feedstocks getting more expensive, driving fertilizer prices through the roof at the exact same time that farmers are seeing silo prices drop for their grains and their sugar beets and everything else. Again, the corporate media likes to blame the farmers all the time. Like a farmer can go out and with a price gun and walk up to a sugar beet and hold it up and change the price of a sugar beet. That doesn't happen. It's not how it works. The farmers don't control that. But what do the farmers do control? Whether or not they're going to buy fertilizer this year, which many aren't, because that cost input is so expensive now, they cannot make money when they grow their crops. If they fertilize, they will be doing it for no other reason than to pay the fertilizer companies. They will be farming for the fertilizer companies. So what are they going to do? They're not going to fertilize. They're not going to buy it. So what does that mean to you? What does that mean to crop yields next year when they don't fertilize the fields this fall, because fertilizer has gone up 30 to 40%? What does that mean to your crop yields next spring? They plummet. Less food, higher prices. Are you seeing where we're going here? How we're getting all these dots, but they all draw into natural gas and what's going on with the under construction, the economics of poop. Now, remember, there are a lot of people that are putting some good things, composting, things like that. But remember, folks, you have to look at this and understand we need 1 to 1.2 billion pounds of food per day, every day. So we're talking large scale here, folks. So yeah, composting, great idea for you, me, gardens. Not a really great idea as far as farmers are concerned. They do some, but it's not the answer. They can't just stop producing food on an industrial scale. They have to. Jackie Reynolds, this may be in the weeds, but could dwindling oil wells be sources for geothermal with low boiling temperature chemicals deriving steam, gases, power? They are experimenting with geothermal all over the place. That is one of the ones I think that is unfortunately not talked about enough. People like to talk about energy like solar because you can do that at your house. Again, I would like to see people less dependent on a big grid, but for a geothermal energy production system to be viable, it requires massive investment, massive private investment to build massive new infrastructure. And again, the subsidies that used to be in place would have made that happen. But now you've got a company that's got to do a sheer bet on markets that are looking like this. This is why having pudding brains and dumb fucks running around willy-nilly doing whatever the hell they want to do, going off in all their different directions, is a terrible presidency. This is why Republicans always fail. There never is a real leader, ever, that pulls all of this together. I'm thinking that the first lady could be Putin's most valuable plant yet. That's a good one. Coming out of left field, but I love it, Canadian ball. I love it. Now, this is also happening at the exact same time. Beef prices keep going up, and there's no end in sight. We're throwing another dot in here, folks. Throwing another dot in here. We're going to pull them all together. Let's get a closer look at that chart. This is from Axios. This is their chart. Give credit where credit is due. This is their chart. These are beef prices, 2021, 22 through the Biden administration. We saw a rise. It looks like if you're doing the math on it, about 10 to 20% increase. That was the post-COVID spike. What's happened in here, though, that caused this? Because remember, beef prices, this is important. Beef prices are affected not by what you did yesterday. They're affected more by what you did 2 years ago. What was happening here that caused this? And this one, I'm not laying at Trump's feet. I'm simply saying they're not doing fuck all about it. Period. This is an article pardon me, a story from back in, I believe it's 2023. Perfect storm of drought demand sends beef prices soaring ahead of no, I'm sorry, this is a new one. This is a new one talking about from Independence Day, talking about the beef prices. One second. I got rid of that article. Never mind. Climate change. Climate change is driving your beef prices. It is. And I know you're going to get some maggot out there that was sticking his toe in the water and taking a look, and his eyes just rolled up in his head, and he clicked off the show because I said that. But it is a fact. Climate change is affecting your beef prices. Over the last several years, there has been drought in the Midwest, been drought here in Texas. Ranchers have been selling off not just their herds, they've been selling off their breeding pairs. That's a big deal. That's when the red flags go up. That's when you start hearing me screaming about, hey, the canary in the coal mine has died. When ranchers sell off their breeding pairs, and let me, again, this is only going to take a stick with me. It's interesting. Stick with me. Stick with me, okay? This is actually really interesting. Spicy Jester, I'm not Korean, but I love South Korea and visit often. You would not believe their infrastructure and how it compares to the U.S. It's refreshing to see a country that actually invests in its people instead of billionaires. Yes, we have been going the wrong way for a very long time. And this greed by the oligarchs is backing us into a cul-de-sac where we will literally not have the money to invest 10 years from now. We will not have the money to invest in our infrastructure, and we will be stuck with old, dead, dying, aging, decrepit infrastructure and no money to fix it because the oligarchs want their tax cut now. I'm telling you, that is the story more than anything. Yeah, dog food prices are going up. Everything is going up, and it's because of this. It's because of this. Ranchers, dog food is made from bone meal. Primarily, the number one ingredient listed on dry dog food is bone meal. That comes from the carcasses, beef carcasses. When ranchers sold off their breeding pairs, that's a big deal. Look, there's different, you hear about Black Angus all the time. That's a great marketing gimmick. It really is. An Angus cow produces a good carcass. It does. It does. It produces a good carcass. But primarily, the reason ranchers love Black Angus, big ass body, small ass head. If you look at other herds or other types of cows, if you look at a Brahman, or you look at, a Hereford or something like that. Herefords are really common. Here, I'll show you. Let me just pull up a Hereford for you. This is what my granddaughter shows, by the way, is Hereford. It's a British breed, but very popular here in the United States. There you go. You kind of get the idea. Big cow, big head, right? Big cow, big head on it. Well, here is a Black Angus cow. Another bull, so you can compare bulls to bulls, right? And you'll get an idea of the difference between the body and head size. I know this is out in left field, but trust me, it means something. It does. See the big ass body, little head? That's why ranchers love Black Angus. You know why? Ask any woman in chat right now what it means to not have a baby with a big ass head. I mean it. This is an interactive show. Ladies, do you want a baby with a big ass head, or you want a baby with a little ass head? What do you want? What do you want to squeeze out your birth canal? fewer complications. Ranchers love Black Angus because there are fewer complications at birth. That little head is priceless. It is. It is priceless. And they're the cutest little babies you have ever seen. A Black Angus calf is precious, just precious looking. It is just precious looking. But really, that's what it is. All of the, Black Angus steak is the best steak you can. I put a steak off a Hereford cow and a Black Angus cow in front of you, and you couldn't tell me fuck all the difference about it. You couldn't. You couldn't. It is all fucking marketing because that is what the ranchers want. That is what they want. They want Angus cattle. Less complications makes the beef cheaper. Why am I talking about this? Because not all mama cows are the same. Even a good breed, they will go through cows. And not every cow, Mr. Knudsen in the house, good to see you. Next to zero loss of calf at birth. Yep. Not every cow makes for a good mom. Ladies, again, know it's a sensitive subject. That's why I'm going to leave it to you. Some mamas are baby makers. They pop them kids out just. Some mamas have difficulty. They do. It's just the way it is. Same thing in cows. Not every mama cow is a good producer. So they find their breeders. They pick those cows that are really good. They produce, they say, you'll hear the term good sacks. Good sacks. They produce a nice full sack of milk. They can take care of them calves. No problems at birth. That cow is reliable and will pop you out a calf reliably. Well, what happens when you got to sell that cow? When drought makes hay so expensive, you think it's funny. It's serious, Lynn. It is. It's serious business. A cow with a good sack is serious business. That is really what they'll tell you. You know, she got a good sack on her. She really does. I'm serious. Brahman bulls are. Don't get me started. I will get so much fucking hate mail. I will not. I will. That's like hooking up with a woman whose name starts with A. She's either going to be fucking psycho or the best thing you ever met. But there ain't no in between. That's what a Brahman bull is. I mean, I'm telling you, she's either going to try to kill you constantly, or it's going to be the sweetest guy you ever had in your life that just you got to be careful. She may accidentally trip on you trying to love on you when you get out in the pasture. Yeah, Brahman bulls are complicated. But I don't want to get off in left field. Now you're following me, right? These farmers, because of drought, because of climate change, had to sell off their herds, and not just sell calves young. Well, normally when you hear about ranchers selling off their herds, that means they took calves that weren't to weight yet to market. Ideally, you want to be about 500-600 pounds. Ideally, that's where you can get your best price per pound. When you talk about the inputs, what it costs you to raise and take care of it, that's a good spot. 500, 600, 700 pounds on, you know what I mean? Above that, you've got way too much money in the cow. Below that, you're not going to get enough. It's not going to sell per pound for what you can normally get for it. That's your target. Normally, when they're talking about selling off herds, they're talking about selling off early, 350, 400 pounds. You're not getting as much money. When they're selling breeding pairs, that's your future. That's your future. You've just sold your future. And they did. And they're not there. So these farmers that are out there trying to rebuild herds while grass is still expensive, hay is expensive, you're seeing what's happening with fertilizers, which is going to drive the cost of hay up. trying to rebuild their herds, they can't do that overnight. What affects prices today happened 2 to 3 years ago. So what's happening? We're importing a lot more beef. God, I love you people so much. I love you people so much. You know where I'm going before I get there. I love you people so much. It is so nice to do this show with you people that are so informed. Yeah, we're importing more beef from everywhere because our herds have been decimated. Beef prices are going up, which makes importing beef make more sense. But you're paying for all this, folks. And our producers can't catch up because hay prices are going to be prohibitively expensive. All the inputs. Now, let's talk about this. Let's add this in on top of that. Let's pause that for a second and let's talk about this. Now, the corporate media is just telling me, oh, look how the US-EU trade deal wards off more escalation, but will raise prices and slow growth. They don't really sound the alarm bell and tell you what that's going to mean exactly to you. A lot of our pharmaceuticals come from the EU. Those prices just went up. That includes pharmaceuticals for cows. So if you're raising cattle, I just showed you fertilizer prices are through the roof. So your own fields aren't going to be as productive. You're not going to be able to put as many cows on your field. Those folks that are out there, there are people that you ever heard somebody called a hayseed before? There are people out here, some of my neighbors, they don't want to run cows. They don't want to do that. But they don't want to leave the country. So what do? They raise hay. You invest in some equipment, a tractor, a baler. You got to have a rake to turn it over. You got some basic equipment. You invest in it, or you can pay somebody to come in, cut it, and bale your hay for you. My son made good money doing that for people for a long time, baling other people's hay. But that fertilizer is expensive, which means the hay quality is going to be poorer and the hay is going to be more expensive because there will be less of it. Why is the fertilizer more expensive? Because the inputs and the energy costs are going up. Are you starting to see this is one gigantic, big, swirling toilet bowl of a circle and you're caught right in the fucking middle? Are you seeing where we're going here? William G. 8th is beef prices are through the roof. Who's getting all the extra money? MT, are we talking Montana here? Town, a decent T-bone is $30. Yeah, it is outrageously expensive. And it's not restaurants. Restaurants are getting hosed. Your food bills are going up. Their food bills are going up. And it's not the ranchers. The ranchers just don't have the cows to sell. They're not making bank, and their expenses are going through. Their energy prices are going up. Their fuel prices are going up. Their insurance prices are going up. Their ability to produce is dropping. Then on top of it, tariffs. The dumb fuckathon is what I call it. The tariffs. You got Howard Butlick and Peter Navarro that don't know shit about economics, apparently, are throwing tariffs into the middle of this because what do they want to do? Why are the tariffs there? Why are the tariffs there? What is this for? It's so they can get a fucking tax cut. It's the biggest shim-sham thievery crime in history. They slap tariffs on everything that you pay. Then you're seeing, I'm drawing you this picture, all the dots together on how all of these price increases are going to increase your prices. You will pay. You will pay. So the oligarchs don't have to. Because the big talking point right now out of the Republicans is, whoo, man, look at all this tariff money we brought in. And then they gave the oligarchs big ass tax cuts. They taxed you. They taxed you. Took more money out of you in energy prices. All of that goes back into the damn pot. Energy prices, food prices, fuel prices, everything. The cost of everything. And let me give you just an example of how that happens. Trump is celebrating, and the corporate media is telling him, oh, good job with the EU. He won. Really? Okay, let's talk about Airbus. Airbus. Okay. Most airlines are in the process of replacing their aging fleets. Airbus is getting the lion's share of the business. Well, you just slapped an additional 5% tariff. They were already tariffed at 10%. Now they're tariffed at 15%. And when you're talking about multi-million-dollar airplane, that's a lot of money. So what does that mean? It means they're not going to replace some airplanes. What does that mean? It means planes are going to go out of service. What does that mean? Less tickets, less seats. What does that do to your prices? Your ticket prices go through the roof. Airlines are in the business to make money. They have to charge more. They're paying more for their planes. They have to charge more for the seats on them. So they implemented a tariff, made the planes more expensive, slowed down the implementation, driving up your prices. Who paid the fucking tariff? You did. You did. Every time they look at you and they say, oh, we got to cut taxes. Well, yeah, they cut taxes for the oligarchs because we took in tariff money. Yeah, they took it from you. They put in place what is essentially a national sales tax on you. So what does that mean to you? Everything in your life is getting more expensive. Everything in your life is getting more expensive. Mr. Newton, how about subsidize fertilizer for family farms and break up the big ag, demand the owner to live on the farms? The problem with that is a lot of people have a problem with big agriculture until you sit them down and you start explaining the logistics of producing over 1 billion pounds of food a day. Remember, when we had those small family farms, we had a quarter of the population. It's not always nefarious. It's not. Jeanette Dahl, thank you for being here. Another person from our European audience. Love our Scandinavian people. Along with everything else, there's a decline in tourism, less money. I love you people. I love you people so much. I didn't even have this one, but yeah, tourism is plummeting. Another shot to our economy. Another shot to our economy. So in that situation, what would you do? Again, we talked about what you would do energy-wise, and they're doing the opposite of that. Now, we've got Ukraine, the war in Ukraine, right? That is tightening the supplies of natural gas and oil on the market because Russia is fucking evil. And they use the money they get from selling oil and gas to murder people. All right. Sorry, mouth was getting a little dry. So what do? You see this tsunami happening. What are the shit for brains that are around pudding brains up in our Washington, D.C. think the answer to that one is? They're going to do this. Let me rephrase it. They're not going to do this. They just did this. Trump announces 25% tariff on India and unspecified penalties for buying Russian oil. In their minds, the answer, and I know what they're thinking here, Putin has played Trump. Putin has just played Trump. He has. China's buying Russian oil. India's buying Russian oil. The dam is breaking all over Asia. They're buying Russian oil. It's faltering. So Trump, in his wisdom, has destroyed our State Department and thinks that he's going to bully India by slapping a 25% tariff on them. Well, what does that mean? What does that do to this whole shitstorm tsunami that you're in? What does that do to that situation? Your drugs, your pharmaceuticals just got more expensive. Your already astronomically expensive drugs. Yeah, a huge percentage of your generic drugs are manufactured in India. They are. Anything that has a carbide tip on it, drill bits, saw blades, anything like that, cutting implements for lathes, CNC lathes, and all of the manufacturing just got massively more expensive. Who pays for that? You do. In a situation where your beef, your groceries, your vegetables, we saw what's happening with the fertilizer. There's no fertilizer hitting the ground, so your vegetable prices are going to skyrocket. He slaps a tariff on India, which is driving up manufacturing prices and just the cost of goods you buy, like generic drugs and stuff, are going to go up on top of that. Kitty K, EPA done, water pollution, drought, less water, pollution, billionaires don't care. They have plenty of money. Amen, sister. Amen. We need about 100 more Luigis. And don't even, I hear the buttons clicking for the email, the nasty email for saying that. I don't care. Don't send me that email. Are you following me? In this situation where the economy is already getting shot in the ass by all of this, they're going to slap another 25% tariff on India, which they're going to have to taco out on. They're going to. In a few weeks, you're going to hear, "Oh, well, we're making good progress in talks with India, so we're going to repeal that tariff because all of your drill bits, everything." Remember, we're, less than 6 months from Christmas now, folks. We're less than 6 months from Christmas. They're driving the cost of goods up by jacking tariffs on both China and India, two of the countries that are the factories to the world. They just are. On top of all of these other things that we were talking about. And I know it was a lot of different things that we talked about. And I appreciate the fact that you are smart enough to follow it all. I am really grateful that you folks can understand this. We need to understand the dumbasses can't. And I don't mean they're bad people. I don't. There are people out there that there are people out there with advanced degrees. You've seen them. Yeah, they're so smart in their particular field that they can't even talk to people. You've seen them. If you spend any time on any university, you will see those people that are so goddamn smart. They can't talk to regular people. Does that mean that they understand all of this? No, not even close. So I'm not saying that and I know I get in trouble because I call them the stupids. They're not. They're just people with fucking lives, man, doing what they do. This is not their wheelhouse. This is what I do. Drawing all these things together. You understand it. You get it. You get how this tsunami is going to affect us over the coming year. It's going to be a drag on the economy. You're going to see job losses, which is going to put us in a situation. Folks, I am describing for you the dreaded stagflation. And if you're not familiar with what stagflation is, it's really worth a 5-minute Google. It is when you're getting inflation to hyperinflation at the same time, you're having massive job losses. And why that's unavoidable? I love you folks. I love you. Always ahead of me. Always ahead of me. ET says at VA today, I'm just now popping in for a bit. Hey, I'm glad you're here, brother. I hope everything's going okay for you. I hope it's a good visit to the VA, not a bad one. Why it's unavoidable? One, because they're morons and doing everything that is the opposite of what you want to do in this situation. Two, Putin's playing Trump. Putin is never going to, he is going to wait these sanctions out. And they're going to crumble. They're already crumbling. They are already crumbling. Putin is already selling his oil and gas. He is. Europe will be the next big one. They will be sitting there paying for that super expensive natural gas because they're importing it from us and Canada and Mexico. And they'll say, fuck it, turn the pipeline back on. Folks, I hope you can understand by what I'm saying here. Everything they're doing is running the wrong direction. They just are. This was the last part of my show. Ali Osher, thank you. What he's talking about here in this statement is he's talking about Governor Pritzker come out. You folks know I've talked about this forever. I took a lot of heat from some of you that have finally come around. My goal was to change the Democratic Party. My goal was to change the way we talk and the way we fight. When I started this several years ago, the Democratic Party was firmly planted on the high road. When ugliness came about or whatever, they said, well, we don't do that. Let me tell you about my policies and why we're better, because we will not do that. I got them down in the ditch. I got them realizing they've got to fight down in the ditch. I have been screaming for years that we must gerrymander. And the 3 states that I always mention was California, New York, and Illinois. Governor Murphy in New Jersey surprised me because it went like this. When they finally came around, and it took Gavin Newsom to break the dam, to stand up and say, fuck it, they're going to gerrymander. We have to fight the same fight. It took Gavin Newsom, much to his credit, saying, yeah, I'm going to do this. And he saw that we would have their backs, that we wouldn't abandon them, that we actually wanted them to do this. And we rewarded Gavin Newsom for that. Then boom, I never saw New Jersey coming out, and they did. They're like, we're going to gerrymander too. And then Governor Hochul in New York said, us too. They keep doing this shit. We're doing this shit. And everybody's watching what's going on with Abbott down here in Texas. When they gerrymander those 5 seats that they're not guaranteed to win. They're not. And they're all seats that minorities hold. Al Green, the Lion, Al Green, they're going to gerrymander his district. Jasmine Crockett. That's one of the things we were talking about when I went to our local county meeting Monday. I'm not a hypocrite. I was at my local Democratic meeting. It's one of the things they were talking about is these districts are all minority districts that they're going to gerrymander. Well, guess what? Governor Pritzker came out, Illinois in the house. Governor Pritzker came out and said, look, we can't do this anymore. We can't fight one arm behind our back. We're not going to do it. Folks, you know what the seat count is? When Pritzker jumped in, if they gerrymander California, New York, New Jersey, and Illinois. Illinois. That's 30 seats, folks. And that's before you factor in everybody being sick of Trump's shit, because these price hikes hit right at the next election. They really hit home. They're starting now, but remember, that fertilizer not being put on the ground now because it's so expensive hits your pocketbook next spring, next summer, going into the midterms. Kitty K, if we're lucky, it will take generations to turn it around. Folks, we don't have that kind of time. We don't have that kind of time. I am telling you, less than 10 years, we're going to be in an economic situation that is much like the old Soviet Union. We have to have democratic control of Congress by 2026. And it has to be substantial. It can't be that old shit where they barely have enough seats and then they've got to negotiate with the Republicans. They must be able to fucking run over the Republicans. We have to make the Republicans irrelevant as a party, or we're fucked. Because we're headed off a financial cliff. The math doesn't math anymore about 8 years out. About 8 years from now, you're going to see drastic changes in your federal government, no matter who's in charge. But for God's sake, look at these people and their priorities. They know this is coming. And what did they do? They slapped tariffs on everything, which is essentially a national sales tax on you. They took more out of your pocket to give broligarchs tax cuts. That's who they are and their priority. We have to return Democrats to power by the midterms, or we're fucked. Or we are fucked, period. We collapse. We do. In 8 to 10 years, you'll start to see the same machinations that the Soviets went through. And then about 2 years after that, we're fucked. We're done. We're done. As a nation, we'll be done. We will implode like the Soviet Union. And our grandchildren, your children's children, will not know the nation you grew up in. It's that simple. It's that simple. And as you can tell, I mean, I know it's a lot of things. We connected a lot of dots today. But folks, it's not complicated. It's not. You just have to remember we're talking to people that don't have the ability to put all this together. And they sure as hell can't sit here for an hour and 40 minutes while we go through this conversation. They don't have that ability. They're not you. So it's your job. It's your job to take this information and present it to them. It is. That's why when I do this, I do it in the format I do. I bring you up an article so that you can have that headline. And I'm too fucking lazy to list all of them in the description. You got to watch the show, take the headline off the article, punch it into Google, and there you go. Fact check me. Anyways, that's what I've got for you today, folks. I hope it's been useful. I hope it's been motivating. I hope it helps you understand when you see these people on social media. Emil Bovey just got passed, just got put on the bar. Trump's bitch of a judge, Emil Bovey. His guy that will do anything crooked at all. He did it in the DOJ. He will do it on the bench. He's not an American. He's a Republican. He is bought and paid for. He is on the bench for life. That just happened. When it happened, the same sorry scum suckers that are always out there shitting on Democrats started posting an article blaming Democrats. Because 4 Democrats voted with the Republicans to prevent Biden's nominee from being put on the bench. It was complicated. It was a mess. It was ugly. It was. But what these people are saying is it was all Democrats. Every Democrat did this. And they completely give a pass to the fact that it literally was every Republican that did this. Every last one. But they went and found a Democrat to hold up and say, all Democrats did this. Hate the Democrats. They didn't say hate the Republicans. They said hate the Democrats. Folks, we don't have time for that anymore. We don't have time for that clickbait bullshit. It's a fucking lie. We need so many Democrats elected in this next election that the dumb fuckers don't matter. That they don't matter. You follow me? And on social media, you need to be hammering these people that might as well just be MAGA. They might as well just be MAGA. They're worse hiding as leftists that do nothing but shit on the Democratic Party. Folks, there are two national parties in this country. The Green Party ain't one of them. There's two national parties in this country. It's Republicans and Democrats, and you see what the Republicans do. The Democrats are the only party that will do what we want them to fucking do. Even if they don't do all of it immediately, even if you have to keep pressuring them to make it happen. With the Democrats, at least it is a possibility. At least you can pressure them to make it happen. The Republicans, they're just flat out screwing you. They're hitting you with a national sales tax. They're fucking our economy so that their broligarchs can get a tax cut and their broligarchs can write them checks and pay for their private clubs and their steak and Merlot and let them live the lavish life because they don't fucking care. It's only the Democrats, folks. It's only the Democrats. I love you, folks. Thank you for being here. I hope this was useful. I hope you could do something with it. Please enjoy some Texas cities at night.